Hey everyone, CNC Keith here with Centroid. I'm going to show you how to install Acorn CNC12 version 406 CNC software on a Windows 10 PC in this video. Now the very first thing that I've done is I've downloaded the Acorn 406 zip file here and I've extracted it. All you got to do is hit right click on the zip file and click extract all in Windows 10, and it will extract the files out of the zip file for you. Now while that's extracting, what I want you to do is go to the Centroid site, and the very first link on the Acorn page is Acorn CNC controller hookup schematics, and I want you to download that zip file. And when you unzip that zip file, you get all these PDFs and you get a bunch of CAD files here as well if you want to work with DWG files of the same drawings. You get all these nice Acorn hookup schematics, and these are the schematics that we have personally hooked up on the bench and got running ourselves, so we know they work and they're good. Well, the one I want you to pick is right here. It's 14.8.16 Acorn Basic Power and Communication Bench Test PDF, and I'm going to double click on that, and this schematic right here shows up. Now to install the CNC12 software, the Acorn CNC12 CNC control software, you have to have the Acorn board powered up and connected to the CNC PC with the very cable that the Acorn CNC controller kit was provided with. It's a shielded Ethernet cable that goes from the Acorn board to the PC. And the only other connection to the Acorn board for the bench test is the 24 volts DC here, these three wires, black, yellow, and green, that comes from the little baby Meanwell 24 volt power supply that's included with the Acorn CNC control kit. That power supply simply plugs into 110 volts. So before you continue on with this video, stop what you're doing and bench wire your Acorn CNC control board according to the schematic. Connect the Ethernet cable, connect the power supply, and turn it on. Now that's exactly the way my Acorn board is right now on this PC. It's sitting here on the bench, and the only thing it's got connected to it is the 24 volts and the ground and the shielded Ethernet cable connecting it to the PC. I'm going to minimize that. Now once we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and open the folder that we created from extracting the zip file, and inside of that folder is a file called setup.exe, and I'm going to double click on it. Now just to stress again, before you start this install process, the Acorn board has to be powered up and connected to the CNC PC and running. There's some lights on the Acorn board. There's a heartbeat light that flashes once a second. That lets you know that the firmware is up and running and it's ready to go. I'm just going to click I agree to the disclaimer. There's a couple options here. You can install desktop shortcut icons, or you could start CNC12 at startup. This second box is nice if you dedicate the CNC PC to CNC control use, so that when you turn on the machine, CNC12 will automatically start when the PC powers up. Well, since I'm bench testing here, I'm going to go ahead and just choose the install desktop shortcuts. You can come back and always make CNC12 start when the PC turns on at a later time. I click next. The next box is the only choice, since this is just the mill installation, is CNC12 mill, and it says where do you want to put it. C drive is where I want to put it, and I click next, and it's extracting and installing it. So two icons show up on the desktop you see here, and I'm going to click next to keep going with the installation and finish. See that little box that just popped up before this one? That was it automatically connecting the Ethernet connection from the Acorn board to the CNC PC. So that's one of the reasons why you want to have the Acorn board powered up, because it automatically configures the Ethernet port to communicate with the Acorn board. The next window here that has popped up is a security warning from Microsoft. It says, hey, we can't verify this publisher. Well, the publisher is Centroid, and the name of the program is Virtual Control Panel, which is the really nice control panel that is touchscreen active that we're going to use here with the CNC12 software. So absolutely say install to that question, and it goes ahead and installs the virtual control panel. Now the very next thing we want to do is configure the CNC control configuration using the wizard. Now the wizard has 4 tabs here, but since we're bench testing, I just want you to use this main tab. Now you see these little radio buttons? these automatically do all your base input and output configurations according to these various motor drive packages. So if you're running Yaskawas, you click the Yaskawa radio button. If you're running a Gecko G540 in drive only mode, you pick that one. And you'll notice that it changes down here because it pre-configures all the I/O to match the schematics that are in the folder that I mentioned earlier. So I'll go back to that folder and we'll just take a look here. So you see all these schematics in here. There's the DMM Dyne 2, Dyne 4. Well, those schematics match that radio button. So if you use this setting in the wizard, you would follow these schematics, either one, whether you're using the Dyne 2 or the Dyne 4. Or if you were using the Gecko G540 as drive only, same thing. You would use this schematic right here, drive only. So this is pretty slick. If your stepper motor and drives don't appear, you can pick other and just do your own configuration using these drop-down boxes. Now I'm getting a little off track because that's really the next video, is to describe to you how to hook up your motors and drives, but I just wanted to mention what all these radio buttons are all about. For the bench test, we're simply going to pick, and I want you to pick the radio button labeled bench test. And what it does is it automatically sets all your inputs and outputs so that you don't get a bunch of error messages when we try to connect to the Acorn board because you don't have anything hooked up to it. So a very critical step here in the wizard is once you have the radio button bench test selected, is you have to go down here in the lower right hand corner and click Write Settings to CNC Control. I click that, I now say yes, it says it did it. And all it did was create a PLC program and map all these settings down to the CNC control configuration for us. So we are now ready to go start CNC12. So I'm going to close the wizard. Here's the wizard icon and here's the CNC12 icon. If I wanted to start the wizard again, you can. And it's cool, it remembers all your information that you used last time so you don't have to start over. And I'm just going to close it there. But we're ready to start CNC12, so I'm going to double click on the CNC12 icon. And the very first thing that pops up is Windows Security Alert. It says, hey, the firewall has blocked some features with this application. Now, it is critical that right here under Allow CNCM-EXE to communicate with these networks that you have both of these boxes checked, public and private, and then click Allow Access. And then that will automatically configure the Windows firewall so that it will let Windows 10 will let the Ethernet port communicate with the Acorn CNC control board. Okay, CNC12 just came up and the virtual control panel, which is touchscreen active, and you can also use the mouse, which is what I'm using right now. So the very first thing, it wants us to cycle e-stop to continue. So I just click on the e-stop button here and it says press to clear. I click it again and it clears it, and you see the messages here. The next thing that I'm going to do is hit the green cycle start button to just set home right where I'm currently at, and we get our digital readout. And there's a little program here that it comes with a bunch of little test programs that are included. I'm going to go ahead and hit cycle start and start running that G-code program. So there we are, putting out pulses with the bench test Acorn CNC controller. So the purpose of this test is to prove that you have the Acorn board connected up to the CNC PC and CNC12 is communicating and running properly with the Acorn board before you move on and start hooking up the rest of your components to the Acorn CNC controller. I'm going to go ahead and hit cycle cancel, and I'm going to hit shutdown and exit CNC12. Now when you exit CNC12 and then start CNC12 again, which is what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to double click on the icon and start it again. You always have to hit e-stop and release to clear it, to reset it, because it's going to give you this message here, software exited, cycle it. So before you can move on, click on the e-stop button and click it again. Now you're good to go and you can continue on with whatever you want to do. Now at this point, you're ready to actually go pick one of the schematics. Let's just look at all the schematics here that come off the Centroid Acorn web page. Here's the G540 drive only. And if I had a G540 and I was setting it up to use it as a stepper drive, what I would do is use this schematic and wire it just like this schematic shows, and then fire up the wizard, pick Gecko G540 drive only, and click Write Settings to CNC Control. And now the Acorn is configured to match, this is critical, to match this very schematic right here. That's pretty slick. So all this I/O here and all these labels on this schematic match the wizard radio button right there, G540 drive only. Now, of course, you got to go in here and you got to tell us what your overall turns ratio, that's how many turns of the stepper motor or servo motor gives you 1 inch of travel, whether you're operating in metric or inches, how fast you want to go, how many steps per rev are your motors, and how do you want to home and all that kind of good stuff. The next tab is the spindle setup, and the advanced tab is for if you have to flip signals on step direction enable or do some axis pairing or even select the rate of the step and direction output. Now, just wanted to give you a quickie overview of the wizard because the rest of this is really another video on actually setting up an actual drive, but I just wanted to give you an overall. Whenever you make any change to the wizard, absolutely hit right settings to CNC control so those changes are made. That's it on the bench test. We just successfully bench tested an Acorn CNC controller in a few minutes, and good luck. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.